Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Don't forget to subscribe my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit the playlist. In the playlist, I have provided almost all the topics in a systematic order, so it is quite convenient for this study. So now, today we will continue with the fetal development. In the last class, we have seen how the development takes place in the trophoblast, cytotrophoblast. From the cytotrophoblast, two layers are formed. One is cytotrophoblast, another one is sensitive trophoblast. And inside the sensitive trophoblast, there is formation of the coelom, that is a cavity is formed, and into that cavity later the blood circulation starts, and that leads to the initial foundation for the formation of the uterine placental circulation. Okay, now meantime the changes also takes place in the embryoblast. So far we are only discussing about the changes which is taking place in the outer layer, that is trophoblast. Now what happens to the embryoblast on the 8th day after the blastocyst formation on the 8th day onwards? Now today we will see on the 8th day onwards, after the formation of the blastocyst, what actually happens to the embryoblast, which is the inner mass. The cells of the embryoblast which are facing to the cavity will proliferate and produce certain cuboidal cells, and this layer of the cell is called as hypoblast. Now embryoblast, so it will form different types of layers. Okay, so the cells which are facing towards the uterine wall, that is uterine cavity, facing the cavity, produce certain cuboidal cells, and this particular first layer of the cuboidal cells, that is called as hypoblast. Meanwhile, the cells which above that also proliferate and gives rise to columnar epithelial cells, and this layer is called as epiblast. So like that, there is formation of the two important layers. One is hypoblast and another one is a epiblast. Now above these layers, some of the cells are remaining. The embryoblast layer, two layers are formed now. One is epiblast, another one is hypoblast, and another is epiblast. Above these layers, remaining cells are get marginated. Above these two layers, the remaining cells are get marginated, and a cavity which is filled with the fluid is formed, and some cells are pressed upwards in this cavity, and that cavity is called as amniotic cavity. So I can show some of the pictures if you have, so that the things will be clear. So if you look into this particular picture, see, this is the layer of the hypoblast, okay, and this is a layer of epiblast. This is epiblast layer, this is hypoblast layer, and now some of the cells which are present above the hypoblast, okay, so they are now pressed to the sides, and as a result there is formation of a fluid filled cavity, okay, and so this is how this cavity is formed. Okay, this some of the extra layers which are formed, I will explain it. The cells lining now above these layers, the remaining cells are also get marginated, and a cavity which is filled with the fluid will develop, and these cells are pressed upwards, and this cavity is called as amniotic cavity. So I can understand, or I think this is amniotic cavity. Okay, this is epiblast, and this is hypoblast, and this is how the cavity is formed. This is called as amniotic cavity. The cells which are lining over here on the sides of this amniotic cavity, so they are called as amnion cells. Okay, so they are called as amnion. Now we will continue. Now the columnar epiblast is facing the columnar epiblast layer is facing the amniotic cavity, and the cuboidal hypoblast is facing the blastocyst cavity. Now you can see again here. See, this is blastocyst actually. You know that blastocyst cavity, isn't it? This is trophoblast and this is blastocyst cavity. Now this particular epiblastic layer, so they are now facing towards the amniotic cavity, and this hypoblast layers, they are now facing towards the blastocyst cavity. Okay, so they are facing towards the blastocyst cavity. The cells lining the amniotic cavity is called as amnioblast. So these layers, so these cells, so this is called as amnion cells. Okay, the cells which are lining this amniotic cavity, so these cells are now called as a amnioblast or amnion cells or amnioblast. Very simple. And now we'll continue further. Now, the cells of the hypoblast gradually extend down and called as primary yolk cells and make another cavity downwards, which is called as primary yolk sac. Okay. Now, the cells uh, of the hypoblast is facing outside to the blastocele, isn't it? So it gradually they now the cells will undergo extend down and called as a primary yolk sac cells, and they make another cavity downwards which is called as primary yolk sac. This happens in the 9th or 10th day. These primitive yolk cells, so it's called as primary yolk cell, or it's also called as primitive yolk sac. These primitive yolk sac cells now produce some connective tissues outwards and keep pushing the cytotrophoblast and keep on pushing it, and it covers the whole amnioblast layer also. So this layer is present outside the embryo, hence it is called as extra embryonic mesoderm layer. See, extra embryonic coelomic cavity is there, extra embryonic mesodermal layer. Now you can understand over here. See, this is epiblast, and this is actually the hypoblast layers. Okay, I will explain it. So now the cells of the hypoblast gradually extend down and called as primary yolk sac cells and make another cavity downwards which is called as primary yolk sac, which happens in 9th or 10th day. These primitive yolk sac cells now produce some connective tissues outwards and keep pushing the cytotrophoblast and keep on pushing it and covers the whole amnioblast layer also. And this layer is present outside the embryo, hence it is called as extra embryonic mesoderm layer. Now the cavity will develop inside this extra embryonic mesoderm also, dividing the extra embryonic mesoderm in two layers. Okay, so this cavity is called as extra embryonic coelom or coelom. This cavity is called as extra embryonic coelom as it is shown. So this is intra embryonic coelomic cavity, and this is extra embryonic coelomic cavity. The cavity extends throughout, and this cavity is only connected with the stalk of the hypoblast and epiblast. This cavity now extends throughout, and this cavity is now only connected with the stalk of the hypoblast and epiblast. The outer layer of the extra embryonic mesoderm is attached with the cytotrophoblast, which is called as somatopleural layer, and that which is attached with the primary yolk sac layer, that is called as extra embryonic splanchnic pleural mesoderm. One is somatopleural layer, another one is a splanchnic pleural layer of the mesoderm. Now the extra embryonic mesoderm coelom is called by a simple name chorion. The same extra embryonic mesoderm coelom, extra embryonic coelomic cavity. So whatever which is coming over here, coelom. So this now totally called as a chorion. So this is totally called as chorion. Now what is a part of the chorion? Chorion plate. What do you mean by chorion plate? We have got part of the outer layer of the extra embryonic somatopleuric mesoderm. Then we have got cytotrophoblast plus sensitotrophoblast. So these three layers in total, so they are called as chorionic plate. They are called as chorionic plate. So this contains three important things. One is outermost layer of the extra embryonic somatopleuric mesoderm, cytotrophoblast, and sensitotrophoblast. All the three are together called as chorionic plates. So what happens after the formation of the chorionic plate? So that we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much.